Lonsec wishes to remind that the information we provide on our portfolios is general advice, and we encourage investors to read the PDS or seek professional advice prior to making any decisions on their investments.
Today we're joined by Lucas Porbeau from Lonsec. He's an investment guru that works at Lonsec, looking after all things about the market, an economist. So we've got a few questions to run through with Lucas about what's happening in the world, the share markets, and investment portfolios across the board. So thanks for joining us today, Lucas.
Probably just for me, just to circle back a little bit onto on inflation a little bit, just picking up on, people have fixed their mortgages. Me personally, mine runs at end of next year, and then people on the 3-year period that they managed to scrape together last year or something. Plus combined with, people have come out of, COVID with a little bit more cash in hand and they're wanting to travel now. So as you've mentioned that, we may see inflation be stable at the higher rates for a longer period of time because of this. Is this also is it just going to be extended even more than what the RBA expects to happen?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, the last rate move probably surprised the market. I think the market was sort of looking at 50 basis points, and obviously we didn't get that. So, I mean, there is some evidence that demand is slowing. It's not uniform, and it's not across every sector. I mean, certainly things like, the building construction sector, we are seeing that slow down. I mean, you look at, house prices along in major sort of centres, and, you've definitely seen a plateauing out and demand drop off. I think the interesting thing is employment. So that's this one thing that, because at the moment, because the job market is so tight, there is still sort of a view that, well, if I quit my job, I'll get another one, or if I lose my job, I'll just go into another one. I'll probably get paid more as well, right? So that is probably still there today. But as you see interest rates move up, the market become potentially more challenging, and you might see that, if you get that dynamic, that labour dynamic sort of normalise a bit, I think once people sort of get, see, at the moment, people don't have that sense that, there's any job risk.
Job security.
At some point, and it's not going to happen over the next 3 months, but certainly over a 12-month period, that dynamic may change. Mm-hmm. And so, as I said, it takes a while for this to filter through. But our view is, look, in terms of the interest rates, the RBA and to be honest, most of the central banks around the globe, I mean, they just need, they just want to see evidence of inflation, peaking. And we wouldn't be surprised if you get, within the next 6 to 12 months, you might see a moderation in rates, because the challenge is there is a balancing act between just going too hard on rates and then effectively killing the economy, and managing inflation. So it is a fine balancing act, but it's also a very blunt tool, because some of the, as I mentioned earlier, one of the factors that's contributed are the supply chain issues. Now, some of those, certainly what we're seeing in the data is they're still there, the issues, but they are improving. So if you look at things like movement of goods, how long it takes, delivery times, all of those there's all a bunch of indicators, they are starting to improve. So the combination of rising rates and some of those supply chain issues unclogging. I mean, the X factor, if I was to think of what's the black swan event, so to speak. And it is some of this geopolitical risk, which is hard to, it's very difficult to predict. But I think you just have to manage for it as new information comes through, and what implications anything like that does have on the economy. So if for example, if you see large economies like Germany, for example, their energy supplies compromised to a degree where they might need to slow down production in order to secure heating in winter for households. That has implications. But and those things may sort of prolong some of those inflationary pressures. But all in all, I think there is some evidence that you're seeing a bit of things cool down a little bit.